Hello and good morning. Happy Friday, gamers. Welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And listen, folks, you're going to see an edgy type of boom today. I was throwing some F-bombs in the green room because I'm all fired up. Obviously, I won't do that live on the air because, you know what, this is a family program. And I was getting cheered on. I was getting pushed in the direction of you should be like this more often, crispy bomb. But I can't because I like being a gentleman. I get fired up on topics like this. What am I talking about, folks? Well, we have breaking news this morning, and I got to give credit where credit is due. There's someone new to the community. His name is the Borm, the THE capital BORM on Twitter. You're going to start to see this story float around. It has been confirmed by Michael Pachter. Now, whether you like the Pack Attack or you don't, that's up to you. I happen to really dig what he has to say. I don't always agree with his takes, and he is wrong sometimes. But this is confirmed information. Folks, guess what? Spider-Man 2018 was supposed to be multiplat. That is according to the report. Apparently, Sony told Marvel that they wanted this as a console exclusive and blocked it from everywhere else by doing what? Well, good business. They paid for it. That's right. They paid Marvel to block this game from releasing anywhere except on a PlayStation. Now, again, that's good business, but that's not where I have a problem, folks. And we're going to get into it. We also have that the deal for this closed as the game was being produced in the backdrop by Insomniac Games. And this is one of the major reasons, folks, according to the report, that Sony SIE purchased and acquired Insomniac Games for Spider-Man 2018. We're going to get into it because now Boom is unhinged because I'm now focusing my disappointment in the gaming media like a magnifying glass. How many stories, ladies and gentlemen, have we freaking heard in the last couple of months? Boom! Crying, Starfield exclusive, it's not right. Really? Because now we have this information, and it turns out Spider-Man was expected to be made by Insomniac, expected to release multiplat, and was blocked from Xbox. The same way that Microsoft bought Bethesda for nearly $8 billion, and Phil Spencer, head of Microsoft Gaming, decided that, well, you know what? We spent the money. We'll keep older games on the PlayStation. We'll keep updating those games as they've been doing in Fallout 76 and ESO. But all the new games are going to stay with our players because they are our customers that we care about. So this is for all the media that gave Microsoft specifically and Phil Spencer a lot of S because he decided to keep something like Starfield for his gamers. We're going to get into it. Crispy Bomb. It just so happens you're back on Fridays. We have something scandalous to talk about. Good morning, kind sir.
Spice meter. Where's it at today? Well, it's pretty spicy, people. Organic. I love it. This is
inorganic is what Sony's looking to do.
How do you put your foot in the mouth, especially these journalists? Well, you just did. And obviously we're going to get into it. And we got a fiery show for you. So get your hot sauce ready. Let's go.
It's going to be spicy, folks, just the way you would expect. Breakfast with Boom. This got the extra hot sauce on there. We're still, and again, we still have a bunch of other topics. You know, we got to get into the lies that have come out of SIE or PlayStation regarding the Ratchet and Clank HDD claims, which apparently, Fuzzy Belvedere, can be played on a potato, but not necessarily the super fast, the hard drive or the in the PS4 in the PlayStation 5. How you feeling, brother? Good morning.
Oh yeah, I'm feeling great. Like just seeing people finally realize the lie about the super fast SSD for the PS5 is kind of funny. And the rumors of like a handheld still going on, and just the breaking news on the Spider-Man deal, which we kind of knew Microsoft had originally turned it down because they didn't have a studio to do it. But looking back at things now, it's like, yeah, Sony they continue to kind of step on these rakes as far as things that are now coming out to the light, and people finally get to see who they really are, or at least who we've been talking about who they really are for ages now. But man, this is a awesome time to be on here. Glad to be here with you guys. A lot of topics to get to. Can't wait to get into it.
We're definitely gonna get into it. And again, it's what I think the crux of the conversation, Dave, is going to be the industry double standard, right? Anything Xbox does, whether that is lock up a deal to have a game on their platform or launch on Game Pass, bad. They acquire a studio, bad. They acquire a publisher to compete, which everyone's been telling them to do, bad. Sony does it. It's rah good. It's industry. This is the standard. It's Sony, their market leader. It's expected. I call BS. Good morning, Dave. How you feeling?
I am here. Boom. I tell you, this is one of those shows where it's like, we started this morning, thought, oh, there's a few things to talk about. And then we get in here this morning and pre-show and we're like, oh, hell yes, this is going to be bringing the fire today. Nobody's going to want to miss this episode. So tweet it out, like, share, subscribe. Everybody, let's get in on this conversation. So let's get them super chats going because, man, this is going to be a good one today.
Well, I mean, listen, again, the super chats are greatly appreciated. Just come and hang out. You're not obligated to drop any super chats at all. Obviously, we are going to use those for the big giveaways that we have coming up towards the end of the year. We're going to be giving away, Dave and company, $3,500 worth of prizes in a matter of 4 shows.
Let that sink in, Boom. Listen how much I mean, and you know what? That's a credit to you and Mrs. Boomstick for your dedication to this community, and we thank you for that.
That's very kind of you to say. I mean, listen, we feel that we love to give back. It's our way of giving back. We do that, and again, we turn the monies that are given to us in through super chats and channel memberships, and we put it back into the channel in regards to graphics that we use for the shows, equipment, but more importantly, and I think this is for us, it's the most important thing, is giving back to the community. And now, we decided that instead of stretching it out through the year, we focus on the fall, because that is when people start to shop for their loved ones, for gifts for the holidays, whatever holiday you may celebrate, whether that's Kwanzaa, Christmas, Hanukkah, or whatever. We want to make sure, because money has been tight for a lot of folks, that you have an opportunity early before we get into the December month, that if you do win a prize, instead of using it for yourself, you want to use it for someone else, you have the opportunity to do that. So we try to keep as forward thinking as possible. And, we do appreciate everything, all of the support that does come in. But listen, let's get into this crispy bomb. One of the things that I have an extreme distaste for is the gaming media. Now, that is not everyone. There are plenty of really polished writers and journalists that continue to walk the beat and talk the talk. Obviously, Jez Corden being at the tip of the spear. You have Tom Henderson. You have Tom from The Verge. There are plenty of amazing journalists that go out there. They give it and they're fair about it, but they also praise when necessary. This particular situation, to me, makes the media, at least the anti-Xbox media, Crispy, even more gross when we have confirmation that Spider-Man 2018 was expected to be a multi-plat game as per Marvel, and in what I consider to be very good business. Sony saw the potential of what Insomniac was making, and they said, wait a second, exclusive. We want this exclusive. Here's the bag. This is very similar. Now, if you want to take Starfield off the table, Crispy, I hear you. I'm going to throw something else in there that's almost one-to-one. Indiana Jones. Now, we don't know what the game looks like, but apparently through certain channels, that game is going to be a AAA banger. And it's going to be a AAA banger that's exclusive to Xbox and PC. And it's going to launch in Xbox Game Pass day and date. This is the one-to-one. How many boo-hoos, Crispy, and how many anti-Xbox articles did we see? Oh, this is unfair. You see, it was supposed to be multiplat, and they locked it up. Shut up. That's the way business works. Let me get your hot take on this, Crispy.
Well, you know, and unfortunately, it comes from a person that many people are not a fan of. But keep that same energy. Yeah, now's the time, journalists. Now's the time, because we're talking about Sony this past week, just like enveloping themselves in even more lying, and we already saw that through this whole fight between them and trying to stop this Activision deal. Okay, we've already, it's come out in the courts, people. So the problem I have is I constantly see journalists and extreme fanboys on that side completely in denial and allowing a corporation to do stuff to you and lie to you and basically try to market to you and say, oh, well, we're better because of this. No, they're not. It is business, people. Okay, this is what happens. And it should be fine in general. You lock up a studio, you lock up the IP, and fortunately for the people that only have a PlayStation, guess what? Those games you already have on your PlayStation, those deals that are already in place, Microsoft honors that. Do you think Sony would? No. I don't think so, people.
No.
So we sit here and you have to realize Spider-Man, yes, they probably had leverage with the movie rights. Okay, so they probably, even though they probably offered the same as what Microsoft could have or another company could have, and at the end of the day, they have a little extra leverage, because if you know Marvel, you know, like some of us, especially on this panel, you know that Spider-Man is extremely important to the Marvel universe. You know what I'm saying? He is a huge part of it. And, you know, I give them credit for, you know, doing this, because I don't think the MCU would have come out the same way without Spider-Man there. But at the same time, when you use this leverage to lock up an IP for video games, when you don't have the rights to the video games, it's just business, right? Well, it should be, but unfortunately, these journalists have decided that it's not, because Microsoft locked up Starfield and Indiana Jones. And, you know, I even heard complaints about Redfall before it fell flat on its face. So I don't know, man. I have to go back through the screenshots, Boom, because I could give a lot of smoke to a lot of people.
Well, you have a lot of receipts, as the kids like to call them. You save everything.
So. I save everything because people sometimes like to argue with somebody that actually knows what the heck they're talking about. And I mean, we got more spice for you, but this is just the beginning. I mean, you know, I want to see the Kotakus, the IGNs. Come on, it's time. It's time to give Sony the smoke. Okay,
100%, absolutely.
And at the end of the day, I start seeing a little bit with the Ratchet thing, but I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire.
That's next.
Okay, there's smoke, there's fire. You got to give them the business. This is unacceptable. You can't be sitting here calling out Microsoft for the same thing you're doing. You know what I mean? How hypocritical can you be? This is unnecessary. This is what we call bad business, because you don't call out the competition when you're doing the same practices. It doesn't make any sense. It's illogical. And also, it really spits in the face of the people that have a PlayStation. And, you know, also the people that said, hey, you know, Microsoft's just doing what they feel they need to. Well, guess what? I guess we were right, huh? Oh, isn't that interesting? I feel like every time you look at it and just say, you know what, I'm not going to argue with a wall. It'll come out in the end. And then it does. And it happens to happen a lot more to the PlayStation fanboys than it does the Xbox fans. All right. So let's be honest here.
Yes.
You gotta think about what a corporation is here for. They are here to make money, and that is it.
I mean, look, Crispy's hit the nail on the head perfectly. Like, it's a straight up hit. Corporations are not our friends, right? They are here to make money for their investors, and that's a fact. Now, if you look at the three platforms, Microsoft does things much differently, and what Sarah Bond does, and Aaron Greenberg, and Phil Spencer, and the rest of the people that are constantly out there handshaking with the people. See, that's real. That's real because they're an inclusive. There is an inclusive ideology at Microsoft, whereas the other platforms is very walled garden, and that goes with their C-level executives as well. You don't hear Jim Ryan interacting with the people. Hell, the guy can't even hold a PlayStation 5 controller correctly, let alone strike up a conversation or at least an honest one with the fans. So what Microsoft does is incredibly different, and that's why we celebrate the brand as much as we do, because we feel like not only do we matter, but they see us, and I think that's super important. I want to bring in Fuzzy Belvedere on this. Fuzzy, first of all, shout out to Outlaw in the chat. He says, if Indiana Jones isn't good, that would be a big L. And you're 1,000% right. But who's to say it's not going to be better than Uncharted? It's Indiana Jones. It is what birthed Uncharted and Lara Croft. It's being made by Machine Games. We know, and I've said this before, and if I'm wrong, Fuzzy, I will take the L on this. After what happened with Redfall, I'm saying this wholeheartedly. You will never again see a AAA expected title fall on its face the way Redfall did. That will never, ever, ever happen again. And I will stand on this square. I will die on this square because of the outpour of disappointment that came the way of Redfall. Microsoft, again, cannot afford to take L's like that when they have as many studios working on as many games as they do. So if a game needs to be delayed, you just delay it and you put something else in Game Pass as a holdover until the game is done right. But I want to circle the wagons back to this whole Spider-Man thing. This really does set a precedent to the media more specifically on how one-sided it actually is. We keep hearing Microsoft bad because these games are exclusive, but every time Sony does it, it's applauded. Let's get your take on this revelation.
Well, some of this, I always look back to the Tomb Raider 1-year exclusivity thing where only Microsoft gets questioned on when it's an exclusive. For how long? How many months? When is it coming to PlayStation? When something comes or is exclusive to, PlayStation, it's usually only people that are on Xbox that are asking those questions. And unfortunately, they get ignored by the gaming media. Like, perfect example, Final Fantasy VII, the remake. But like when Tomb Raider was coming to Xbox, it was like Phil had to disclose, or maybe it was Crystal Dynamics had to disclose, oh, it's a year. And then people were like, fine, I'll just wait a year. And it's like, I don't hear a lot of Xbox people doing that. It's like, okay, they'll either wait when it comes to that platform, or they'll, if they are fortunate enough to have the PlayStation, they'll pick it up on there, and then more than likely pick it up on Xbox as well, like I did for Deathloop and Ghostwire. So it's funny that the gaming media are the ones that, like you said, they'll champion PlayStation when they do it. It's like, oh, why is it so hard for people to just buy a PlayStation? But yet when it's Xbox, it's like, when is it coming to PlayStation? It's annoying. But once again, the truth comes out as far as how the Spider-Man deal went down. Like, originally we heard stories way back when it's like, oh, Microsoft turned it down, and everybody was ready to hop down Phil's throat about it. Oh, why'd you turn it down? Well, we didn't have a studio that we felt comfortable making it within house. And at that time, I don't think that they were really looking to reach out to Insomniac to do it. They just had, Sunset Overdrive made. unfortunately, because of the whole TV controversy, that IP didn't do as well as they had hoped. It was one of those things. The entire launch of that generation isn't a cloud of controversy, and a lot of the games, even though they had a phenomenal launch lineup, it was pretty much forgotten at that point. So them not picking up that IP at that time, yeah, we can, hindsight's 2020, but who would they have had do it, and would have made that much of a difference, considering how even the IPs that they already had that people were clamoring for, like Quantum Break and things like that, just didn't hit the marks like they had hoped. But seeing Sony doing these tactics, we've known they've been doing things like this for a while now, and the fact that it's only going to be somebody like Michael Pachter that makes mention of it. You won't see it on IGN. You won't see it on Gamers Rank or Game Ranks and Gamer Rant or Eurogamer or any of those, or Game Informer for that matter. So it's one of the reasons why I don't even follow a lot of the gaming media like I used to. Like before, those were the go-to sites for, what games are coming out and things. But now they have so much spin on why you should buy a PlayStation, even though their showcase was, almost perfect, minus the fact that there was only one thing really shown worthwhile. All of that spin that they do just goes to show how biased they are in the sense that either PlayStation's buttering their bread, or maybe they, grew up on PlayStation and that's all they know, and that's the beloved console. Me being the Sega kid growing up, it's like, for me, I just look for whoever whatever they've done for me lately, kind of thing. And Xbox seems to be the one with, Game Pass and a lot of the different services that they have, a lot of the different studios that they have cooking up stuff. That's where I'm, planting my flag, even though, I still have a PlayStation. I still play some of their exclusives, but it just boggles my mind why people are quick to say, buy a PlayStation if you want their exclusives. But Xbox, it's like, it's unfair. These games were taken away. I mean, if it's not already downloaded on your console, it can't be taken away. It can be canceled, much like Sony has canceled some other games, and we don't have official word if Factions has been canceled. Thank you, Bungie. No, just kidding.
No, that's yeah. Well, again, we're only going to go what we know. That's not coming out for at least years.
Yeah,
because whatever they were doing, it did not work. And Bungie was like, nope, that doesn't work. We got to rework this thing. So I'm sure the assets will be used, but the actual grounds on a gas game for whatever they were doing, Naughty Dog, it just did not work. So that sucks. I like Factions.
Yeah, but like this whole Spider-Man deal, for all of those that were like, we should have Starfield on PlayStation, you can thank Jim Ryan for kind of waking up the beast that you guys always said they should compete. They're Microsoft. They're $1 trillion company. They should compete. Well, now they're competing, and now we see some of the stuff Sony was doing and kind of woke them up. So you can thank Jim Ryan for waking them up. So, but yeah.
We're gonna get into because Insomniac is gonna be another part of the conversation, because Dave, we're gonna get into it. But the one thing I love about working with Dave, and I get to do this twice a week, which is amazing. The same thing with Fuzzy on bookend shows. You like to keep it fair, like, and you can get spicy there, Dave. Which you wear a red hat for a reason. So let's talk about this, because again, we have talked about it, we have read it, you have talked about it on your show with Retri that you have each and every Sunday evening, which I will be a guest next Sunday, folks. So get ready for that. But we have seen this double standard. And it's not even that Dave, that they're blatant about it. They're in your face. Xbox bad, PlayStation good. Now, when we get this information, when we have this new information about Spider-Man expected to be multiplat, and again, I'm not blaming Sony for this. They did what businesses do. They saw something special. They wanted to make it exclusive to their platform, and they did just that. Zero wrong with that, folks. That is 101 business. But the problem is not the stink eye for the community. It's not the stink eye for Sony doing the business that they thought would sell millions of consoles, which we know it has. And I got a super chat over here from Dean Rivera. That's exactly that point. But the media, Dave, is the one that I have the stink eye for, and I'm showing the fangs to. And I'm wondering how far this is going to go, because obviously they took the ball and they ran with Starfield exclusive bad. They took the Indiana Jones thing. Oh, it's bad. Look, point the finger. Look what you guys are doing. You made it exclusive. How dare you? And now we have confirmed information that Sony does the exact same thing, which we all knew, but Spider-Man's a big IP. Let's talk about it, Dave. What are your thoughts on this with the negative media and how they have to now eat a lot of crow?
It's the double standard, extreme double standard. And you think, why would they do this? Why would they highlight?
Wow.
I know, isn't that crazy? We'll talk about that in a second
That
too.
is
Super chats are crazy, but yeah. So the media over the last 10 years or more, has really been in the pocket of Sony. They have, they're the market leader, so they have treated them a certain way. Certain things they have done for the media that have, kind of greased the palms, greased the wheels. Let's send them games, let's send them a console. Let's, hey, make sure you write good articles about us, and we'll send you the latest demo and the latest game to try out or to review. Those things happen, folks. In radio, it's called pay to play.
There you go.
And it's illegal. Very much so illegal. I've known people that have lost their jobs for that. But the way they're doing it now, it's Sony has a huge market share. So the vast majority of people that are going to these gaming sites that are the ones that cover everything, the multiple, coverage, not just an exclusive gaming site for Sony or exclusive gaming site that covers Windows Central type thing. They would, but they also cover other things as well too, which is good on them. But so that's where their quote unquote clicks and bread and butter is. They need to get the people in, and they emphasize and highlight what they think is going to get more people to view their clicks, view their likes, buy their magazines, and that's just the way the market works. And right now, being the number one console company in the world, it's Sony, so that's where they're going to focus their good vibes. It makes them more money to raise up Sony and to put down Microsoft, because there are fanboys out there that will if they're talking bad about Xbox, I want to read that article, I want to go to that article, and that is the long and the short of it, put together into a nice little package. It's not fair, it's a double standard, it's crazy, but what I like is things like this that come out that we're able to say, ha, all the crap that you give, it's unwarranted, unfounded, and the next time a Sony fanboy brings it up, and I have a Sony, I have a PlayStation 5, I have a PlayStation 4, I've had all the consoles that Sony's put out. I like the Xbox ecosystem better.
Yep,
it's just the way it is. I just feel like I get more benefit out of it, but I still play Ghost of Tsushima at least once a week on my PlayStation because I love it. It's a great game. But with that said, the overall point I was trying to make is that these the people that that think that this is not what is Microsoft doing? How are they destroying gaming by not letting us play Starfield on our PlayStation? No, they're not. No, they're not. If you want to play Starfield, buy an Xbox or get into the ecosystem through your PC. Multiple ways you can get into the ecosystem that Sony doesn't offer you. Why doesn't Sony offer you that? Because they want to keep their ecosystem closed and they want to keep as much money as possible. It's business, that's for sure. But Microsoft has looked at this and thought, you know what? We can, in the long run, make more money if we make our products available in more areas. The more places you can get our product, the better it's going to be for the consumer. And here's the big catcher. By doing this over time, they are going to grow their base bigger and bigger, and they 100%. Are going to be not as far distant number 3, but maybe a closer number 3, maybe a number 2, and eventually someday, hopefully, they'll be the number 1.
Well, I mean, when you consider they might add Sega to the conversation, I mean, number 1 is almost guaranteed. But that's for another show, folks. You heard we went ham on Wednesday. What a great show! It was one of my favorites because we talked about Sega. I mean, we talked about Tencent and what Microsoft is doing and everything. It was a, you missed primetime gaming on Wednesday. It was a fantastic 2 hours of a lot of Sega talk, man. It gave me a big cheese smile. But Dave, you're absolutely right. I think everyone here, I think the running understanding is it's just business. Now, sometimes Sony goes out of their way to do extra dirty deeds in the background about keeping it off of Game Pass for a year or 2 years or things of that nature. I mean, again, I don't agree with it, but like Dean Rivera, who drops the first super chat of the day, I have a PlayStation 5. So if something's going to come out that I can't get, that's going to be an exclusive, well, I'm going to play it there because I'm not going to snub my nose. Now, Final Fantasy 16 looks amazing. And I've heard some great things, but I have an issue with Square personally. So I will play that game, but I will buy that game used. And I will give it to I'd rather give the money to a stranger on eBay. Hey, you selling it? I'll buy it from you. Here's your $50. And then I'll play it. And you know, Square's not getting my money, but I'm still not, you know, missing out on what's probably one of the better, newer experiences Final Fantasy. So that's how I'm going to play it. But listen, let's get into the super chats. And then we're going to get into, we got to get into this Ratchet and Clank thing. I mean, I don't know who to point the finger at. I don't know if this is a Jim Ryan thing, an SIE thing, an Insomniac thing. But I am going to say ultimately it's disappointing because they made such a big deal. The media specifically really rallied behind Sony. Whoa, my God. The SSD is just, it's so good in the PlayStation 5, folks, that Ratchet and Clank cannot be played anywhere because they're a time-shifting thing. Remember how they were doing article after article? They're changing the game. Well, it turns out that you could run this thing on a potato, which is just ridiculous. But let me get to the super chats, and we're going to get into that next. Dean Rivera drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I love my Xbox. It's my console of choice, but I just snatched up a Spider-Man 2 console, just like Boom. It's a PlayStation exclusive, which of course is why you get that. Drawn TJ drops a ridiculous $100 super chat. That is just, I don't even know what to say. That's just bonkers. He says to make Game Pass grow by Crytek, Crystal Dynamics, and Eidos Montreal, Giant Software, Focus Entertainment would be big. Focus Home Interactive, Team Ninja, Platinum Games, which I don't know so much about Platinum. I don't trust them anymore. Wargaming, which I think they own the licensing for MechAssault. Funcom Games. These are all small studios. Then buy a 49% stake in Take-Two and buy Sega. Brother, you are awesome. You got a limited bank account. That is, what can I say? I love his big thinking. He's a greedy gamer like Umbra, like myself. We want them to have everyone. But dude, brother, thank you so much for the generosity. We truly appreciate it. Here, Dreadful Sean drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I want Marvel to force PlayStation to make Spider-Man multiplat just like they did with MLB just like the MLB forced PlayStation to do it with MLB The Show. We were talking about that in the green room. Where I think you wouldn't see Disney push that hard is because of how entrenched Spider-Man is with the MCU, and the fact that even though Sony doesn't own the publishing rights for toys and for clothes and for gaming, they do own the movie rights. And I think that Sony, being who Sony is, will leverage that in getting Tom Holland back into the MCU. I'm sure that when they had that split, this is one of the things that were discussed. Hey, listen, we want to keep Spider-Man exclusive to our brand. But I look, I don't fault Sony for locking up this game. Spider-Man 2018 is a masterclass achievement. Now, maybe it's not your bag. Maybe chasing pigeons through clouds weren't your thing. I absolutely loved it. I platinumed it once. I started playing through it on the PlayStation 5 version. I almost platinum Miles Morales. I think I'm one trophy away from the platinum there. I cannot wait to play Spider-Man 2. So I get it. I get why they did it. It is a big IP. But you never know. I mean, you just never know. But I think that because, like, if you look at Spider-Man 2018, you look at the remake of Spider-Man 2018 and what Miles Morales sold. I mean, if you put them all together, it's got to be like 30 plus million copies sold. That's a lot of copies. Now, MLB, that particular situation was because it was selling 2 million copies on a PlayStation 4 that had 117 million players. So it literally made no sense. Like, MLB is like, we're leaving money on the table here. But Spider-Man, I don't know, dude. I just think it sells so many copies, and I think Spider-Man 2 is going to sell. I wouldn't be surprised at Spider-Man 2, because you got to remember, see, so again, they're smart. It just so happens that the main antagonist is Kraven, and it just so happens it's releasing around the Kraven film. So it's going to set the world on fire for the film, and it's going to set people going to want to buy the game. You can only buy the game on PlayStation or PlayStation 5. So I think I think they sell easily 5 million copies in the first week, easily. And I think by end of year, no doubt about it, that's a 10 million console seller. It may even be maybe even hits 12 by December. Again, that's just my opinion. We have Mr. Nichols dropped a very generous $5 super chat and says, Xbox exclusives are great. Rise Son of Rome needs a sequel, dude, like, so bad. And Quantum Break are examples of how biased the media is towards Xbox. Please call them out. Yeah, we will do that. Listen, I'm going to say this, folks. You trust me? These are two games that Mr. Nichols mentioned. If you've never played them, I'm going to say, shame on you, especially if you are a Sony fan. Both of these games right now are stellar, absolutely stellar experiences. Both Quantum Break and Rise Son of Rome deserve your time. Yes, they're old, but those games are dope. That's all I got. Dean Rivera drops an additional $5 super chat. And yeah, this is funny. Laura Croft is going to be in season 5 of Call of Duty. Maybe Microsoft buys Crystal next. Yeah, they have to, man. That's Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal must be handled before anything else. Those are so important to what Microsoft is doing with Perfect Dark and Fable that it's a must to get those studios locked up. But I want to go to Crispy Bomb next on this next scandal, if you will. Apparently, Crispy Bomb, you can play Ratchet and Clank on something like your Steam Deck and it can be run from the HDD rather than it be like this, mythical, can only be run on a PlayStation 5. Now, again, this comes the way of Sony trying to sell their wares. I get it. but it's a lie, right? Sony has lied so many times, I have lost count. Insomniac Games was rah-rahing this. They're the developer. Like, nope, this thing cannot be played anywhere else. It can only be on the PlayStation 5. You got to play it here. There is no doubt that this not only could probably have run on a PlayStation 4, even if they scaled it down, but the fact that now this is coming out on top of the Spider-Man thing, and what happened during the ABK stuff, I mean, it just makes Jim Ryan and PlayStation look like just a bunch of just dirty Fs. I'm sorry. Like, I can't believe a word that comes out of their mouth. What are your hot takes on this other revelation about the magical, the mythical SSD in the PlayStation 5 being necessary to play Ratchet and Clank because of the whole, time warping thing? And it turns out to be a big freaking lie. Like, I don't know.
I said the same thing, Boom. I was like, I swear to God, we got a lot of flack for saying, like, no, this game could definitely run on older hardware or on, the Series S or the Series X. Like, let's not sell. So what they were trying to do is sell the PlayStation using Ratchet and Clank. Okay. And unfortunately, this is where I get into legality. And I say, this is false advertising. And you could say what you want. I saw somebody in the chat say, well, it runs horrible. I had the kid optimize the Steam Deck, and I played for a half an hour. Now, I can't prove it to you because, we went through it would be a lot of work to try to prove it to you. But it runs if you scale it down correctly. Lucky for me, he knows what he's doing with the darn thing. All right. So I laugh at this. We've seen games on the Switch that we didn't think were possible to run on there. I get selling point. I understand it, but this is not a selling point. This is a flat out lie. And literally Sony decided to spit in your face. If you thought that lie was true and that you could only play this game there, they just spit in your face. And I see people like, oh, spit again. Like they're just sitting there like, yes, more lies. I want all the lies. Like
I love it.
I see people doubling down, arguing with guys that play on PC that are saying, bro, you guys like just got caught out big time because I'm playing this on an external, regular hard drive that's older than the PS4 hardware.
Yep.
And y'all told me that this magical SSD was the magic in the entire
unicorn, if you will.
And constantly, if we see games properly optimized, because I mean, it already came out, unfortunately, if you actually, were into this whole ABK deal, that parity is a big deal. And you know why? That's because Sony uses parity to their advantage. So if there's a multiplat that they have a licensing agreement or something like that with, and it comes out on Xbox, they optimize it for the PlayStation so it runs better. And that is why they're worried about Microsoft doing it. Can you actually use your brain and be a critical thinker and say, there's something wrong here. What's going on? Yeah, I get that. Okay, a multi-platform game is going to go with not only the one that throws the bag in their face, but the one that has the higher market share right now in gaming. This is why we've been going for this ABK deal. It all comes into culmination as it seems like it's going to be finalized shortly. Okay,
a week or two is really what it comes down to.
You know what I'm saying? Like we are finally like, hey, hello, people. This is how we get competition back to actual competition. Because at the end of the day, Switch might be right behind PlayStation, but Xbox is 2 behind PlayStation. Yeah. And Xbox needs to catch up because guess what? Everybody thinks that it's only Xbox and Sony that are actually in this gen of hardware. So what's the problem with actually having competition? Oh, Sony's actually going to have to do pro-consumer things. Oh, how about that? Because, at the end of the day,
What a theory.
I've been a gamer my entire life. And the one thing I've always resented Sony for is they killed Sega. Okay? They killed the Sega console division. They told Sega to become a third-party developer. If you didn't know that, go look it up. They said it because they had such market share. They killed the Sega consoles. Them. Okay? And when I got my hands on Gears of War, because I always say exclusive IPs matter, and that is my exact reason why, I said, these guys are doing something different. As Sony reels back, and the reason why I don't have a PS5 is because they can't make a multiplayer game for the life of them. They can't. Okay? Like, shame on me. I love multiplayer. I was a single-player gamer for a majority of my life. I get what Boom says, like, hey, like, dude, I just want to go into a game and get enveloped. Me, I want to interact with people. And they don't allow you to do that unless it's a multiplayer game like Call of Duty. No wonder why they went crazy about it. I mean, can we be serious for a second? It is unacceptable for a company. And they both did it. They did the 8K thing too. And they knew who's going to buy an 8K TV at like 10 grand. You know what I'm saying? They both did the 8K thing. That was a lie. But you know what? Sony been doubling down for a while with the lies. And it's unacceptable to me. It makes no sense. And the people that lap up them spitting in your face, well, eventually you're going to get tired of it. I hope. Or you're just cuckoo. I'm sorry. Like, you got to call a spade, man. Like, sometimes you got to just say, you know what? They aren't doing pro-consumer things. Now, thanks to Microsoft buying ABK shortly, guess what? They're going to have to rethink their strategy. And it might be good for the gamer consumer. Maybe at some point I say, you know what? They brought out a multiplayer, single-player experience that's exclusive to their console. Maybe like SOCOM, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like, you brought that out. You brought it back to life or whatever it may be. And I go and purchase your console for $500. I mean, still to this day, what happened to the VR? They basically already threw it under the rug. I mean, for the person that bought the VR 2.0, what do you do
dude,
now?
It's basically a paperweight right now, dude. Like, honestly,
you know
it's a giant paperweight.
That's not right. I'm sorry. You spent a lot of money. And you know what? I have a voice, so I'm going to say it. And it's not because I'm an Xbox fanboy. No, I've been a gamer my whole life. You want to go in the arcade? Let's roll, baby. All right? I'll take you to school. Okay? That's how I roll. All right? So at the end of the day, I say, you know what? For the gamer, the actual person that is a gamer, that ain't no fanboy shill, that will actually sit there and be like, I want this new experience Sony has sold me, and they have basically let it sit there and do nothing, and you spent that money. That ain't right. I'm sorry. And I'm going to leave it at that, because if it ain't right, don't buy it. Plain and simple.
No, dude. You can't argue with a single thing that you said. Look, now obviously there's a lot to unpack here, folks, and we do have plenty of time left. There's at least an hour and 15 minutes left of the show, so get ready. Grab your cup of coffee, your bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich, or your sandwich, if you will, and just get ready, because you're going to get honesty. You're going to get some fun. We're going to have some laughs. Before I get into the rest of the super chats, and there's been a ton of them to pop in here, I want to hear from Fuzzy. I want to hear from Dave. Fuzzy, this, to me, the Spider-Man thing is not that big of a deal because it's business. We get it. We understand it. But again, the reason why that was the opening salvo is because the media is full of shit. Pardon my French, folks. They're just full of it, and they know it, and they latch on like lapdogs, like absolute lapdogs, and just lap up whatever Sony throws at them. But this particular situation is, I think, a black eye for Insomniac. I think it's a black eye for PlayStation, and more so, even so, Jim Ryan. All we've heard is how important the SSD is, how better. As a matter of fact, we had a studio throw themselves under the bus last weekend, if you folks remember, to have that game coming out, something Era, right?
Quantum Era, yeah.
Quantum Era. That's what it was. Thank you for the save. On the power of this magical unicorn-esque SSD, and it's so powerful that they can only release it on. And if they did an Xbox version, world would be over, right? And then you hear this. See, this is where, and I hold Ted Price and the fine folks at Insomniac Games as one of my personal favorite studios. They are literally carrying PlayStation right now. And they're working on a third IP, which is rumored to be, which if it is, I think this is a brilliant move, a Sunset Overdrive 2. I don't know if that's been reported as a rumor, but it makes sense. Sunset Overdrive is Sony's now. So if they decide to come up with a 2, I will play it because I love Sunset Overdrive 1. But I think this is ultimately a stink eye for Insomniac. I really do, and I really hold him to such a high standard and a high account because I love Ted Price. I love the people over there. I love their games. I've been a fan of them for years. But this is ugly. This is ugly. What are your hot takes on this?
Well, it goes back to like the beginning of the generation where a lot of marketing speak was, put out there by both platforms, but a lot of it, like the social media, well, not social media in general, but like the gaming media even mainly poked fun at like things like smart delivery or quick resume. Remember that? And I used to joke to people, I'm like, hey, show me one multiplat game that loads faster on the PlayStation 5 than it does on an Xbox Series X with quick resume. You can't find any. And even when they showed the loading tests on a lot of those games without even using quick resume, it was faster. I don't know if that was a matter of direct storage or not, but as fast as that was, or as far as the read and write speed on the SSD for the PlayStation, it's not being programmed, or at least the software out there now is not being optimized for it. Considering you can't get that same speed, or at least at the time of launch, you couldn't get that same speed in the PC. So it was kind of bogus that they're like, oh, it's, Unreal Engine 5 can only be done on this SSD, but we found that was a lie as well. So it's almost like the things where it's like when they do the lie detector test, it's like you're not the father, or if we found you're the father.
Jerry Springer.
So it's like
that's great.
None of all this stuff that Mark Cerny and that group were saying as far as that SSD. Is it fast? Yes. Is it the magic fairy dust that they try to make it seem to be? No. And for those that are like, oh yeah, it'll run like crap on a PC. Yeah. If you're using an old, let's say 5600 speed, hard drive. Yeah. If you're using like a 72 or 7200 RPM or better, it's around the same speed. You may get a hitch once or twice, but that one scene that everybody likes to play is in the beginning of the game, and you never go through anything like that again throughout the entire game. Now, I played the game. I platinumed it. It was one of the first games I platinumed on my PS5, and the reason being, it only took 8 hours. So,
or what? Spider-Man 2018?
No, this Ratchet and Clank.
Oh yeah. Well, that's. And that's the thing. I kind of want to just jump in for a hot second, and I want people to understand. If you asked me for a recommendation on Ratchet and Clank, I would say, if you are a platform stan, if you are a Pixar stan like I am, Ratchet and Clank that on the PlayStation 5 is brilliance in motion. There is no doubt about it. Maybe platformers aren't your thing. Maybe you're anti-Sony, and I get it if you are. There's a lot of reasons to be, but I am not mad at the game. The game is gorgeous, and it is exactly what I love about platformers. It is like watching and playing a Pixar film. That is how good Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is. It is brilliance in motion. So this isn't an attack on the game. The game, leave the game alone. The game is brilliant.
Yeah,
it's the shenanigans behind this SSD that I think that why we're covering this. But please continue, Buzz.
Yeah, the biggest thing, that one scene where you go from world to world, that's just a one-time thing in the game. So if you were to replay that on that same hard drive, it would already be cached and it'll play it just as fast as it plays it on the PS5. The first time it's loading, and it's basically all of that switching between worlds is a loading screen. We've already seen, even Digital Foundry showed it. Now, the hard drive that they use, or whatever they were trying to do as far as the external, they probably purposely used a bad hard drive, because even on a Steam Deck with a SD card, loads it faster or plays it faster on the first try. So it's not that the SSD in the PS5 is junk. It's just that it's not this magical wonder, you know, device that they originally panned it out to be. So if you want to play it on PC, which it's 3 years old, I would say it's a worthwhile game. For me, it was worthwhile after it went on sale. I wasn't paying the launch or the full price for it. I wound up picking up the deluxe edition after the fact. Me personally, because it is somewhat of a short game, looks beautiful, but I would say this might be something to wait on for Steam until it's at the $30 mark. Just you're going to be able to finish this if you just do all the story side content. You can probably platinum this thing in less than 12 hours, if not faster. Like I think I platinum it somewhere between 8 and 10 hours.
That's unbelievable. Like, see, you know what? I'll say that's the crazy thing. I love how we play differently. You'll platinum it in 12 hours. For me, I'll platinum it in 30, 35, because I really do like. I'm like a nerd. Like I stop and I look around the world. Like I'm amazed at this, folks. You gotta understand, I'm old, so I started with sticks and dots. So when I see this, I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, the approach I took my normal open world approach where I'm trying to search every corner, but you can find the pattern of where like the gold bolts are and stuff like that. So after you get used to where to look, you'll know to go straight to like off the beaten path and then double back around to do the side content. And that's what did it for me. But awesome game. But for those that were, praising the SSD, sorry, Cerny lied to you or misled you, led you astray.
As he's done before. Yeah.
I mean, this is definitely a game that probably, if they really wanted to, they could put on PS4. But since it's not, hey, play it on your Steam Deck, play it on your ROG Ally, play it on your, PC, whether it's a potato or a $5,000 rig. You can definitely play this game, preferably on an SSD, and just about any of them out there will cut it. But yeah, it's a good game, but the marketing for it, they led you astray.
And Sony has lied before. They will continue to lie, and they will continue to bamboozle folks. And like I said, the best thing I can say is don't fall for the lies. Be specific on what you buy. The PlayStation VR 2.0 is another perfect example of Sony abandoning, because they won't admit it, but folks, but since its launch, have we heard numbers? Have we seen any rah-rah stats? No. Have we seen any announcements on first-party development? No. Insomniac, whether you notice or you don't, Insomniac make incredible VR games. And I only know that because of Asante. He's like, boom, you don't understand. They've released some bangers. So I don't know why they don't tap them. But then again, they are working on Spider-Man 2, Wolverine, and a third project. And that still might be on top of a Resistance Fall of Man remake, which I really hope that they release. But just be smarter with your money. Dave, let's get your hot take on the Mark Cerny lie heard around the world. The Magic SSD cannot be compared to on any rig because the PlayStation's is so special. Turns out it's really not.
Yeah, it's the wording. It's the way. Okay, what I find really amusing now is that a lot of the fanboys, I hate to say that, but that's true, are trying to cover and backtrack. They're like, well, that's not exactly what he said, and it can't play. It can only play its best on with the SSD and the Sony. But that's not what they said. That's not what they sold you on at the beginning. They said it was only capable on the PlayStation 5. Bullshit. Sorry. And it's just
Right.
not the case. Now there are definitely ways you can run it where we'll play and it's not as good, but it's still playable. But yet saying that the SSD is the only way to achieve that effect is a lie, and it's been proven. There's computers out there that can run it. There's Steam Deck that can even do it. So it's like, okay, why did they do it? Obviously, it's a feature they felt like they had the better type of architecture using that SSD technology. So they were trying to promote it and push it. I get it, but to say that it was the only way it could be done, and then now years later, yourself by putting it out on PC, proving that's not the case, and then expecting not to get shit for it, that's ridiculous. The crap they're getting for it is deserved. But then
Well
again,
earned.
you gotta chalk it up to that's what Sony marketing does. And like you said, the game developers, the game itself, it's a great game. I've played it, traded it off already. It's it's not it's not the best game by any means, but it was a good game. And it's just the effect kind of cool, but it's still not something that's necessary. I mean, if to step back, in the last generation, a lot of games would create, like, you had to pass through a wall, or like your character goes into and he kind of like scoots through, or you hit a button and you have him scoot through a crack in the wall or something. And the reason they put those kind of things in was to give the system time to load the next area. They put little buffers, little placeholders, little things that, a smart way to do it. Smart way to program. Now they don't have to do that. Some games, they still put it in, even though they don't have to, because people are used to that or they expect that in certain parts. So, but that's it's, to me, it's the biggest thing about it is the defense of it, on the side that it's clearly where Sony's marketing department, kind of pushed too hard on their features, and now they've kind of been caught in the lie. But the biggest part about this is that the people that are defending, well, no, they didn't really lie. They weren't really lying. That's where they lose credibility. There's some people saying that we're calling it out loses our credibility. I don't think so. I'll keep my credibility easily, while you can't, while we can play that game anywhere. Anyway, that's what I got.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's now this comes on the heels. Let me see who just said Red Monkey Butts. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the program as always. He makes a comment. This is funny. I want to read it live. He says PlayStation 5, and this is a big deal, folks. The PlayStation 5 has sold, not shipped, sold 40 million consoles. That is astonishing, especially when you consider that they raised the price by $50, right? So take what they're doing. Incredible work at SIE. This is what's keeping Sony afloat. There's no doubt about it. He goes on to say PlayStation 5 sold 40 million, but Sony fans are still not sleeping well at night. They're still worried about Xbox. Yeah, and they have every right to be, and they should be.
Yep.
For a couple of reasons. But I don't think that they should lose sleep over the fact that Microsoft is going to be in the conversation. I think what first of all, you shouldn't lose sleep over a corporation because they're not your friends. What you should be wondering is whether or not you can still be a PlayStation fan and look over at the other side and be like, you know what, that grass is green as well. and I'm going to go sniff that grass. I'm going to go touch that grass because I want to see what's going on over there. And maybe you buy a Series S. Maybe you buy a Series X. Maybe you download Xbox Game Pass and you play it on your $5,000 rig that you told everyone that you have. And you can play Starfield. And you can play Clockwork Revolution when it releases and Hellblade 2 next year. And whatever else you want to play. I just think that we're in an era of gaming where I get the finance situation for a lot of people. Entertainment does have its limits, and maybe some people cannot support multiple platforms. And I hear you. I am here to tell you that is a reality, folks. But if there is one platform that you're not attached to, and it's an Xbox platform that you're like, well, I have a PlayStation and I really like it, or I'm a Switch person and I really like that, or I have both of them and I really like what they're doing over there. Microsoft, specifically Xbox, is one of the out of the three that allows you to dip your toe into the pool without getting yourself all soaking wet. Like you could literally, again, the dollar deal is back, right? I don't know if it's still running now, but it was back at the beginning of the month. You can get Xbox, try it out. You know what I'm saying? Get it for 3 months, play Starfield in September, and maybe you become a fan. I think that when you consider the way traditionally Sony charges you $76.43 for their games, which is their right to do, and now same thing for Nintendo, which started with Tears of the Kingdom. Microsoft makes it very affordable for you to be an Xbox fan. But again, I'm not going to push you over the edge. You spend your money how you want to spend your money. Listen, before we get into the third topic, I do want to catch up on the super chats. There's been quite a few of them. We have here Michael Mooney drops a very generous £5 super chat and says, what about getting 1 or 2 motorsport teams to expand the development time of each Xbox first-party motorsports games? Yeah, I mean, I know that both Playground and Turn 10 have hired recently. I don't know how big they have expanded the studio. I mean,
I think they're going for like a 10-year games as a service approach. I don't know if it's going to be a full 10 years, but I think what they're going to do is you won't necessarily,
instead of adding a new game, just keep adding to it, right?
Right. Add new tracks, add new cars, substantial amount of tracks or cars throughout the next 5 to 10 years, as well as modes, like things like the drag racing, dirt racing, things like that. So I think that's the approach they're going to try, and we'll see. I know they tried it with Flight Sim, and then they wound up making a new Flight Sim, but we can probably get at least 3 or 4 years out of this motorsport with continuous support and see how it goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the support is substantial and it's really defining, like on what they do rather than the whole game versus, we just released an update that is just bombastic and it has 50 new cars or 25 new cars. It's got 10 new tracks. It's a different area. If they can figure out a way to do that, then that's a good way to be. I still like the traditional releases personally. I like Motorsport. We're not going to see one for at least 5 years. That makes sense because the game is not even out yet. It's coming out in October, and many of us are waiting for Horizon 6 to be announced, whenever that's going to be. Is that going to be
hopefully
next year? Or is that going to be? Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Dark Winters drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, I love Spider-Man, but this is the third Spider-Man in 5 years. I think they really are putting all their eggs in one basket. I mean, Spider-Man 2018 came out, did what it did. Miles Morales was a great addition to the franchise. Yes, it was some people say, oh, it's DLC, boom. Yeah, I guess, but I love the hell out of it. And I love Miles as a character. I love the whole family thing that he had going on. Like I said, it really represented a lot of what I went through growing up as a kid. So I can understand, like, I appreciate what Insomniac was able to tell, especially in the opening scene. I've told this before, that joint made me cry, straight up, like cry, because it reminded me of my abuela. So it was a personal thing for me. Spider-Man 2, I think, is really on another level. Some people are like, oh, boom, it's just another DLC. I don't know so much about that. But again, that might be my Marvel stand coming. You got to understand, I am a Spider-Man 252 fanboy. I collected comics with my dad when Spider-Man got the Symbionite, with the start of the Symbionite saga out of Secret Wars. So it's more of a personal thing. I cannot wait to play it. I love Kraven. I think Kraven's an amazing character, but I'm a diehard Venom fan. So I'm all in. And they're changing the story, which is, I don't know how I feel about that right now, because it's supposedly not Eddie Brock, which I'm a little, I don't know so much about that, because I'm an Eddie Brock fan because he's Venom. And now it's not so much that. So I got to see how I'm going to like the story, but I'm very excited for that game. Drawn TJ dropped a very generous additional $5 super chat and says, never mind, I'm good. I thought it went on the wrong card, but it's okay. Oh, brother, I hope everything's okay. Let me know. If not, I can always return it to you. It's not a problem. Highlander 001 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Jim Ryan lies more than Todd. Does Todd Howard actually lie? I mean, I think he's being facetious. But Jim Ryan does lie a lot. It's embarrassing.
Fallout 76. He deserves.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I'm not an Earth Defense Force for anybody. You know, speak your piece and stand by your words. That's what I say. Use your words. Highlander 001 drops an additional $5 super chat and says, parity for Call of Duty goes out the window when the ABK deal closes, as it came out with the FTC hearing. Sony will not give Activision dev kits. That's on Sony. I think they're going to work it out. I just think that was cowardice. That was Jim Ryan just clawing and scratching to say anything to get the deal done. It was a bit of a head scratch when he said, well, I understand why they made Starfield exclusive. Not that big of a deal. I mean, his whole block strategy was they're making games exclusive that we can't get, and yet we hear Spider-Man was supposed to be multi-plat. It's like I said, this is a full circle moment for Sony. Lots of black eyes to be handed out, and you know what? That's what can I say about it? They just have to. But keeping with the Jim Ryan shenanigans and the lies, if you will. I pulled the story because I needed the exact quote, and I could have pulled it from Windows Central. I could have pulled it from anyone, but I pulled it from PCMag.com. It was written by Matthew Humphreys, and I don't. The story I already know, but I really want the quote from Jim Ryan during the trial or the hearing, and what Jim Ryan said, of course, was preposterous. Right? He goes on to say, I talked to all, and that's the key word here, all, meaning everyone, all the publishers, and they unanimously, everyone, do not like Game Pass because it's value destructive. Now, I bring that up because of a story that is in conjunction with this particular one. And this comes the way of Hazardor Gaming on Twitter. He is out there constantly tweeting. He tweets more than I do, and that's hard to do. Now, Windows Central wrote a story regarding The Lies of P, which is coming out soon. And again, this just goes to the lies that Jim Ryan continues to tell. And obviously, we haven't heard anything from him because ultimately he is going to lose. He tucked his tail between his legs, signed a deal, and went off to do whatever he does as the CEO. You haven't heard boo from him, and you're not probably going to. He's done. The ABK deal, done. Let's move on to Sega. That's all I'm going to say. But while we're still here talking about Xbox Game Pass and why we've heard from numerous, everyone that has come out against Xbox Game Pass, it's only been a handful of devs like, yeah, I don't like it. It didn't get. We know that's all been debunked. Well, the Lies of P team apparently is thrilled at the upcoming Game Pass launch. And I have some quotes. Let me just find them very quickly, and let me see what they have to say here. Okay, so this comes the way of the developers of Lies of P, which is going to be an amazing game. It is a multi-plat. It is going to be on your PlayStation. It's going to be on your PC, and of course, it's going to be on Xbox. But the difference is Xbox Game Pass subscribers are going to play it by just pressing the download button. And this is what they had to say. This comes the way of Juan Choi, director of Lies of P. He says this, folks. Collaborating with Xbox has been an incredibly supportive and rewarding journey for us. Having our game launch on a platform with a massive global subscriber base is a thrilling opportunity. We understand this platform offers a tremendous reach, enabling us to engage with a wide and diverse audience of players from around the world. Yo, I mean, Crispy Bomb. Does that not just debunk every one of these knuckleheads on these social media platforms? Specifically, Jim Ryan, who said that he doesn't understand and that he has it on good authority that it's destructive to gaming and that it's not profitable and that publishers and developers, they just don't like it. Again, debunk 101. And again, I have to keep saying this. I turn the stink eye to the gaming media who has ran with those exact points of contention about, again, Game Pass bad, consolidation bad. This is, again, it is one developer, but I can go and I have receipts. I can pull them all, folks, and read you one after another. But this is the latest one. And this one really hammers the point home. Let's get your hot take on this, Crispy.
Is it surprising? I mean, I have a better example, Boom. Who signed a huge deal to make an exclusive game for Xbox? People Who Can Fly. Who technically failed?
Yes, they sure did.
Who technically failed in Square Enix's eyes because they didn't even pay them? People Who Can Fly. It was the Outriders. Okay. Remember that game? I'm going to tell you, if they had Microsoft's backing, that game would have hit much harder than it did. Because I'm going to be honest with you, that was some unique gameplay. It was different. It hit my Gears feels, but also it played totally different. It wasn't all about cover. You had to, upgrade your character. It was pretty good. It just ran like trash. It did. It ran horribly. And then the roguelike type stuff that was in there, which a lot of people don't even realize was there. Like, you would have to start all the way at the beginning. You know what I mean? You'd be like, oh my God, dude, I was so damn close and I couldn't beat that. That frustrates people. But People Who Can Fly never said a darn word about being in Game Pass. I think the only reason why they're like, yo, can we get paid is because they released it in Game Pass and they're like, dude, there's a lot of engagement here. But Square don't care about that. That's the way it comes down to. So what they do, they said, hey, we're going to move right next to the coalition and either learn from them or eventually get bought. We'll find out later. But we're going to move right there and we're going to build a new studio. Interesting, is it not? After they failed in the game, quote unquote. And we're going to chill out and wait for our time. And we're also going to sign an exclusive deal with Xbox/Microsoft. Oh, well, isn't that a dev that's supposed to hate them? I mean, they got no money from it. How are they supposed to hate them? Do you know why? They saw the engagement. The engagement was huge for a while. I mean, they were touting like, dude, like, I can't believe how many people are playing this game. And I think they wanted to make better. But you got board members, you got people that, you got the shareholders, you got people that are the money hats that say, oh, you got to release this game, but we're not ready. I don't care if you're not ready. You got to release it. Figure it out. I work in the corporate world. That's what they tell me all the time. I'm a manager. Figure it out. Hell, I guess we're releasing the game. Was it great? No. But I think it more or less didn't run right. And I think they could have fixed that. But they didn't have the time. They had a certain budget. There's budgets, people. Like, developers have budgets. Like, come on. So, you have a CFO in probably every development house, especially ones that, work with, third party publishing. I mean, you look at games that have been released under some, private division was the overseer of Obsidian's Outer Worlds. Okay. And they released games like on the Switch that didn't run correctly. Now they fixed it after Microsoft already bought them, but it was already set to release because it released not long after it released on Xbox and PlayStation. It released not long after, and guess what? It ran like trash. They're still making money off that because the fact is that Microsoft will purchase them, but that doesn't take away the publisher. You understand? For that specific game, they want their bag. You have to understand, they want their bag. Just like my store manager wants his bonus, or the zone director, as we call him, wants his bonus. Okay, they want their bag. All right. So they push certain narratives at certain times. It's not irrelevant. All right. Like, we want the game out. We don't care how it is. It will sell. That's what they did. So Liza P is probably, the developers of them are probably like, well, we got in this early somewhat, and we're getting support, and we actually love it. Because you know what? Microsoft does have the bag, but also they're going to be like, we want results, and we don't want to bring out trash. They don't want a Redfall again, people. They don't. I'm going to tell you right now, when I watched that interview, okay, on the Xcast with Phil there, I looked at him and I said, this is not going to happen again like this. Yes, he's going to have third-party deals. He's going to have indie games come in there. They could be like that, but they don't want the bag. They want to be independent completely. And that's where he says every deal is different. Okay? Some deals is like, maybe those developers, Eliza P, are like, look, like, we need your help. We need your help. We will be all in on this. We need to polish this game, make it as great as possible. That's all we care about. We want people to enjoy this game. Some devs are like that. Some devs are like, hey, like, we need money. We're going to release this game here. Give us our bag, lump sum, whatever. That's why he's always said every deal is different. Okay. It seems like more of the games that get support from Microsoft / Xbox, because at the end of the day, a lot of these games are developed on PC, people. Like, if you don't know that, then you haven't been in gaming, because it's been that way for a very long time, by the way.
Yes.
So you have to look at that and say, like, well, most PCs, that aren't Apple run on Windows. Do they not? I
do.
But so, I mean, let's be serious here. Like, who's the one that's going to be like, you know what? Yeah, we'll fund sending, and it's not even funding, sending the A team. Like the coalition continues to hire. I believe the coalition is going to be 1,000-person studio very soon. Okay, because they're so good with UE. And they're
helping everyone, dude. Like,
they like constantly, we see what Halo, like, they're working on different engines. These guys are good, man. And you see it with Ed. Ed started hiring as well.
Yep.
Okay. you have to realize, like, they found like you see the Forza teams, Turn 10 and Playground.
Yep.
They are constantly hiring because they have people in place already that are wizards, but also are great teachers. Okay. And they can teach people that want to learn how to develop the way they do. And they want to be there because when you come out of school, where would you want to be? Somewhere that's going to nourish you and say, you know what? You can make something great. We just got to show you how you can. And then you can bring your own ideas into it. And let's see what happens. Or you could be the hard ass approach. I said it very, and be like, you have to do this. So the Liza P team is probably like, man, they're not like, they're just sending us help and they're not doing anything, and we're releasing it on other consoles. I'm confused. All because we're in Game Pass. This is the Game Pass effect. You can hate Game Pass all you want, but it's helping them fund to make the game good on PlayStation as well. Like it's a crazy thought process, and it's out of the box. And generally Microsoft's been way too ahead of the out of the box thinking. But for once, this Game Pass thing, I'm gonna tell you right now, like, everybody's like, oh, they raised the price of the Game Pass Ultimate. I said, dude, I've been paying $18 a month for Netflix for years now, and they keep coming out with good content that I keep watching. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I can find something that I've never seen before that I watch. Like that, if you're a football fan, that quarterback series, amazing. It was so good. And they went hand in hand with Peyton Manning. I mean, come on, think about it. That's pretty smart.
Let me tell you something. The amount of Korean dramas that Mrs. Boom and I watch on Netflix, it's worth its $18.
I mean, who's ready for Squid Game? You know what I'm saying? Squid Game 2? Come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, like, I've watched stuff that I would never watch because Netflix says, no, you could, we'll put it here and you could watch it, and all of a sudden it becomes a hit. And that's what they do. And that's what I want Microsoft to do. Say, you know what? We'll get this, this small developer or this smaller developer that is capable of making a AAA quality game, and we'll give them support. That's kind of what Netflix does. I mean, you look at the different avenues, and that's why, I look at them and I say, keep going, because you could hate it. You could be like, oh, like, the developers aren't getting the money. Let's stop talking about them. If they don't want to be a part of it, don't be a part of it. It's that simple. Don't accept the bag, or don't accept the help. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, Game Pass allows these developers to do things that are completely out of the box. Okay. And that's what gaming innovation is. Be out of the box. Some of the games we played over our lives, we said, holy hell, I've never seen this before. You know what I'm saying? And this is what we want, because at the end of the day, these ideas only go so far unless you have innovative thinking that says, look, man, this is something that could be truly special, but we don't have anybody. This is
where Sarah Bond comes in. Yes, you see, Crispy, we're leaving Sarah Bond out of the conversation. This is why her role is so important, because she's finding these studios and she's making these deals. And, again, Liza P, Crispy, to every point that you had, which is off the chart, correct, is a niche game because it's very Souls-like, right? But it's going to find a much wider audience because where? It's on Game Pass.
And that's the point, Boom. Like, I'm not a Souls-like fan, okay? I mean, I clearly just said I'm not a roguelike fan, all right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if I pick up that controller and play for 10 hours and I enjoy it, and I enjoy it enough to continue playing, that says something. And it's the price of my subscription. I know it says, a lot of people will say price of free. It's not. And, I still look at the subscription and say, hey, I'm paying for it. And I always say to what subscription, like, I don't have Disney Plus anymore. What have you done for me lately? And, Xbox continues to bring new experiences that it might not be me. It might be my girlfriend or her son that pick it up and say, man, this is just something that is just special. And I'm just like, that's not my bag. But that's not my place to say. If you're enjoying it, you're playing it. It is, justifying me, paying that price. What's the problem? And we're talking totally different realms of games. Like the kid beat the heck out of Subnautica. I don't know. Like I'm an RPG fan, but I just couldn't do it. Okay.
My brother's a huge fan of that. Like, dude, he is a huge fan. He played through all of the expansions. Like,
can we all like different games? Is
yes.
that feasible? Like, like RTSs and stuff like that. Like I used to love them. Like Command and Conquer, I was huge into. And it just fell off for me. But that doesn't mean that the next person or the younger people might not like that. I mean, it all depends on your brain. We're all human. We're all different. Like, and that's what I feel like Game Pass embraces. It embraces the difference in ourselves. And that's something that, hey, for the $18 now it's going to be soon. I got no problem with it. Continue to do what you're doing. Continue to allow these devs to do what they want to do and support them or throw them the bag. And sometimes you're going to have L's. I get it. We're going to have L's. Nobody calls out all the L's PlayStation's had. You know what I'm saying? Like Godfall, come on. You know what I'm saying? Like there's L's everywhere.
Godfall. What about the one that they did with Square that launched in the beginning of the year? Oh my God, what is the name of the game that was with the female? Holy moly!
Oh God! I see that's
Chad, help us out.
That's how we forget though. Like if it's forgettable, it's forgettable.
Basically, GameStop was selling it for a penny or giving it away or
something.
Forspoken. Oh no! Forspoken. Yeah, there was another one from Platinum Games that did that same flop.
That was
Godfall. 30 days. No, not Godfall. It was another one. Like they were giving it away at GameStop for a penny.
Yikes. and then you have a gem that I've seen nobody that nobody's complained about is like Stray. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen nobody really complain. Like everybody makes sure it's a cat game. Like I love cats. I have 3.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. Stray was straight up fire. I didn't beat it. I got really far, and something else took my. I bought the service to get that game.
You know what I'm saying? So like Sony does know when they have something, and I get it. Like yeah, they released it straight into the service, and they knew it was a good game. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like sometimes you got to allow these devs to fall on their face, and they might come back and say, you know what, we screwed up. And I feel like that's what's happening because at the end of the day, I've only seen 3 devs that say they didn't like the Game Pass effect. But what contract did you have? Because we've heard Phil 100 times say we make different contracts. We do what the dev wants if we want it in Game Pass. So maybe rethink your thought process or just never do it again, and that's fine. But for those that are doing it and being innovative and giving us different experiences, I applaud them. And I say, I hope that they do you right. I hope Xbox, Microsoft does you right. And I hope at the end of the day, you are happy with what you contributed and also the engagement that you get on Game Pass. And that's really all I got to say about it.
I love it. I mean, and again, you knocked it out of the park as you always do, kind sir. One thing before we continue this conversation. In the story, because I didn't read who wrote the story, and it's incredibly important that I do because I'm a big fan of his, and he's an amazing part of the community. The story for Windows Central was written by Miles Dompierre. Even though Miles is completely wrong about Code Veronica, and if you're listening, I'll fight you for it, brother. He did write this story. I want to give him the proper credit. This was on Windows Central. And of course, the title of this Fuzzy Belvedere is Xbox Game Pass launch is, according to the director of Lies of P, and I quote, a momentous occasion for Lies of P. And of course, this is just another notch in the belt for Xbox and Microsoft of teaming up with developers, smaller developers, and getting their game or games, depending on how many times they've worked with Microsoft, into an audience that currently has 30 plus million subscribers, meaning that there's no real advertising because that needs to go into this, that's going to be spent by the developer, who's a small team from South Korea, right? They are a small team. They have limited funds, but getting into Xbox Game Pass gets it into the hands and into the minds and into the eyes of potentially millions of players. And it's going to be on the splash screen right on the front page of what's new coming to Xbox Game Pass. This is brilliance in motion. This is something that we have seen time and time again. More developers, and I think 10 times the amount of developers, have praised Game Pass as opposed to a few knuckleheads that are getting on Sony wagons to stoke the fires of tribalism and console war shenanigans. But again, this comes off the heels of Jim Ryan saying that all publishers, and he's talked to developers, they don't like it. Game Pass, not good. Let's talk about it.
It's funny to me. Like, everybody is worried about Game Pass being sustainable, or developers don't like it. And yet no one has that same energy. Yeah, I'm using that term again, for things like Spotify or Netflix in most cases. But all of that aside, when it comes to a lot of these small teams, if you're on a smaller budget, do you remember the story that came out not too long ago about how, I guess, one of the small indie teams was getting blacklisted because they came out and said, yeah, PlayStation wants like 25 grand for me to even have my game in the store. So, I mean, yes, I understand it's a storefront, so you want to pay for real estate for like some of the blocks and things, which I used to do stuff like that for websites where we would have vendors like, oh, I want to be on your landing page or the homepage for this product line and things like that. And some of them have like higher traffic areas, so those are going to come at an expense. But when it comes to Game Pass, they recognize these smaller teams, and if it's a game that there's enough interest in, or something that could possibly be like that unpolished gem, well, not unpolished, but like that long lost gem kind of thing, where, you know, Lies of P is like that almost like Bloodborne, Dark Souls looking type of game from this small team. So of course you're going to highlight that for people that are looking for that type of genre. So a lot of these stories that come out where people are or these devs are having a great time with Game Pass, it's because the deal that they made looks like a lot of cases they were smart enough to make sure they went in with the approach of how they would receive revenue, whether it's per download, per, you know, engagement, or an upfront type of thing. And each situation works differently. Like they always say, each deal is different. So this is the type of system where at least there's the flexibility for a medium to well, small to medium, or even, you know, large, you know, AAA developers can work into that strategy, or as far as the Game Pass strategy, what works best for them. But of course, Jim Ryan is going to say that he's talked to a number of them. Like, if he talks to all the PlayStation devs, of course they're going to say no. I mean, it would be like a rhetorical question. You work for PlayStation. Do you want to put something in Game Pass?
They wouldn't speak out against him, because look what you just mentioned, a studio, a small studio getting blacklisted because they said what was the truth. Yeah. Hey, listen, we want to put our game on the front page and we can't afford 25 grand, which is ridiculous.
Well, here's another thing to take into account. How believable is Jim Ryan when one of their own studios, it's not Sony Santa Monica, it's like San Diego or Sony San Diego, I think, the one that does MLB. How do they feel? I mean, I think that first year, if I'm not mistaken, more copies were sold on Xbox than they were on PlayStation.
They slightly outpaced. Yeah, it wasn't by a landslide. It was close, but the Xbox,
I think it was like 1 million versus 1.1 million.
Yeah, something like that. It was like less than 100,000 copies, but it sold more on Xbox.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, how does that publisher feel? I mean, they actually got more sales that year than they have for the past 5 or 6 years, because MLB has always been around that 1 mil or less range for a while. Like, since, what was it, 95 or whenever Steroids Gate or whatever broke, the sales have kind of, you know, slowed down a bit. But overall, any game that's in Game Pass has the opportunity to make equal or more revenue than what they would do just selling it outright. Now, it all depends on how they set up the deal. But a lot of times for a smaller developer, especially some of these ones that we hear, they mortgage their home and stuff, or remortgage their home to kind of fit the bill to get the development of the game done. A lot of times these deals work out for them as far as having it in Game Pass, because if you're an indie developer putting the game on, let's say Steam and PlayStation and Xbox, and you have to pay the 25 grand up front for PlayStation, where do you think your game is going to show up on the store? It's probably not going to be anywhere on the front page, but new to Game Pass is a section. Hey, they highlight indie games. They highlight certain types of games, whether it's a roguelike or like a strategy game. So you have an opportunity to be, get eyes on your product from 30 million subscribers on the particular genre of the game, the fact that it's new to the service, and the type of game itself. So I hope things like this continue, especially in that region, as far as like with South Korea and stuff like that. There was another story where PlayStation is now trying to recruit a lot of these studios as far as for putting content on their platform as well. So they look to do the same. But like the Lies of P developer, good on them that they found a nice mesh with going into Game Pass, and it works out for them. And it's a game I look forward to trying, although it's pretty close to, what was it, Starfield, I think, time. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I might get to play a couple of hours of it, and then I'll probably sink like 8 to 20 hours in like a day or two for Starfield. So, but it's always awesome to hear these stories. Sure, there are some nightmare stories, but it also depends on, like we said, the deal that you structure from get-go. And hopefully for those devs, the few devs that do say, hey, Game Pass didn't work out for us, hopefully they learn from the deal that they structured. Hey, maybe it's not best to take the money all up front. Maybe it's best to work out something on download percentage or engagement percentage or something like that. But yeah, it's always cool to see these stories and know that Game Pass is sustainable, or at least for now, just enjoy the service and worry about Microsoft's bill. Let Microsoft worry about the bill themselves, and then just enjoy the games that's on there. But it's always cool to see stories like this.
It's because, again, you have to look at this. You have to look. There are so many factors here, Dave. When you look at something like this, Game Pass has 30 million subscribers. That's not by accident. Now, I think that if what I believe to be not only a generational game, but the start of a salvo of first-party games for Xbox start this September with Starfield, and you got Motorsport in October, and I'm still hanging on. I will come out and take the giant L and carry it on top of my head. It's not a problem. But I still think that with this new deal being signed by Jim Ryan, that negates the old marketing deal. If it does, in fact, and I don't have this, just my opinion, if it does negate that deal, that means that Call of Duty is not going to be marketed by PlayStation. And there is no way in hell, whether it froze over or it didn't, that Microsoft is going to agree with Sony to get them to sign this 10-year deal, that we can't put our $70 billion IP into our service to sell our service. I still think Call of Duty Modern War 3 remake, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be in November. That is going to you're going to see over the course of the holiday 5 million new subscribers. Maybe you get even more than that, because Call of Duty is a big draw. Starfield in itself is going to be a big draw, and Motorsport is going to be a big draw. But Dave, when you hear these kinds of stories from these smaller developers who don't have a marketing budget, that have a team that maybe is 10 people or 12 people, and they're barely keeping the lights on because they have a passion for game making, and they want to make this game, and they want people to experience a new way of looking at Pinocchio. Totally different, right? Totally off the charts, interesting. And then you turn around and you say, well, if this was traditional Sony way of doing things, so a Sony player is going to spend 76.43 on a game that they don't know, but it sells like, so it's going to sell. They're going to think, wow, this could be the next Bloodborne, right? So people are potentially going to dip their toe. But but how many are going to sell? Is Sony giving them a bag? Is Sony putting their game on the front page of one of their most important aspects of PlayStation PSN? No, they're not going to do that. Now this is where the Xbox factor comes into the Xbox Game Pass factor comes into play. You take 30 million people who are subscribed, and it's probably way more than that, but we'll say 30 million just for shits and giggles. And you take this game and you put it out there at your shows. Hey, this is coming. There's your advertising. You know, they sign on with Microsoft. Sure, it's going to be a multi-plat. It's still going to sell on the PlayStation Network. It's still going to sell on Steam. That's great. But the important aspect is people are going to play your game. And more importantly than even that, that's right, folks. Maybe this is a revelation for you. Microsoft didn't get it for free. They dropped the bag to get this game. And in targeting this game, which is potentially going to be a Bloodborne-esque type of experience, people are going to get it. People are going to download it. People are going to play it. The developers are going to get paid. Let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about what the developer had to say about their interaction with Microsoft during the whole transaction.
I mean, he praised it. That was a great experience. So that's good to hear. That's amazing to hear. Just take one quick step back. The thing that you were talking about, Boom, about the Call of Duty, possibly, you know, the marketing. By this time, we usually have heard something, a little snippets, but right now we haven't heard anything. It's almost
correct.
like we're holding back information.
We're in a holding pattern, if you will,
until something is finally concrete and finished. I'm just saying that's your speculation really makes a lot of sense. That it's you know, I don't think we're going to hear anything more about Call of Duty until the deal is done. Hopefully within the next week or so, and it should be pretty close. So yeah, and you know, when you look at a game like this, the Liza P, it looks amazing. They've had demos out. People play it, check it out. It looks amazing. They've made some tweaks, got some feedback, and they are ready to go. And I know that this game is going to be successful.
Yep,
it's going to be great. And you know, Game Pass is going to have a lot to do with it. You know, when I guess Square Enix was kind of, you know, in trouble on their game, that they thought, wow, what are we going to do with this game? Let's put it on Game Pass. Okay. And it was Outriders, and it had huge success, and they admitted themselves that it did way better on Game Pass than they thought it would do, because it was able to reach more people. And that is what Game Pass is doing for this game. It's going to be able to reach more people with less marketing right off the bat. So it's going to be, you know, it really is, you know, Game Pass is so good. And people, I know there's people that boo-hoo it and people that'll slam on it, but it makes perfect sense. You know, one of the marketing things they say is it's, you know, 100 or over 100 games in Game Pass. Well, you and me know that there's almost 500 games in Game Pass right now, but they don't say that. Why do they not say that? Because they want to keep it to where they can, if they have games that aren't doing so great or finished with their contracts, they can trim those down to put in more expensive games to spend more money. So they're going to keep it to where it's always profitable. And that's the key. They're going to keep it profitable. So that's the wonderfulness of Game Pass. It is so much of a, you know, Satya believed in it, and for him to, you know, to turn around to Phil and be like, you know, okay, cool. If this works, and it's working, it really is working, and he's working so well that he's gone to bat and spent $68+ billion on more games to put into what? Game Pass. So it's really, you know, it for anybody that says it's not working or it's not a good thing to do, you're just blind, or you're just completely in denial, and you want it to be bad because, say, a certain other company doesn't believe in it because it doesn't fit their old norms for how they sell games.
Yep.
They're stuck in their own way. Why? Because that got them in first place. I get it. But now that the times are changing, or there's another way of doing gaming, that's gonna grow and grow the gaming business, which is what they want. They want what 3 billion players in Game Pass. That was it. That was his kind of his throw out goal that Phil said.
Yep.
You know, it's that's the way to do it. Is what they're doing now. They're on the right track. Keep focused. Keep it going. They have a plan, like a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan for how to keep it growing and how to eventually take the market share and eventually, hopefully, get to be the number one console manufacturer in the console company, gaming company in the world. And that's what we want if we want to continue to get this. And they're doing it, I think, the right way, not the wrong way, not the backstabbing people. You know, like I said, like we talked about earlier, you know, Spider-Man was actually going to be multiplat.
Yeah.
How could Sony take it away from us? Oh,
it's just business.
It's just business. Exactly. Exactly right. And Microsoft, well, they're pretty good at business.
Yeah, they are. They absolutely are. I see a lot of Sega talk regarding the amount of what Sega's worth. Sega currently, right now, today, is market cap value $5.1 billion. $5.1 billion. Not one, not two, not 17. 5.1. Microsoft has a great partnership. They're working with them. There's no rush to get Sega, even though we had an amazing conversation on Primetime Gaming. If you missed it, that show is available on all your RSS feeds, as well as up on for video on demand on YouTube. Check it out. We had a lot of fun. Like we had today. So again, with acquisitions after ABK is done in a week or two, I would imagine in 2 weeks this thing is wrapped up everywhere. I mean, like literally everywhere. It's just done. Deal is signed, and we're just going to move on. Microsoft needs to focus on the smaller studios, IO Interactive, Avalanche, Asobo, Certain Affinity, Crystal D, potentially Eidos Montreal, and there are a few other ones in there that I want to see them bring home. And I think that because they have such a good working relationship with Sega and they already have that partnership on the Super Games, there's no need to take care of that this year. Though I do feel that an announcement of some sorts, whether it's an investment into, like taking a 48 or 49% stake into Sega or an outright acquisition, that's going to come. And again, could be wrong. More than likely, I'm going to be first quarter of 24, because if you look at the time frames from ABK to Bethesda, or more so Bethesda to ABK, it was only 9 months. So they're going to move quickly to sew up a lot of the smaller support studios that they're working with, especially when you consider how many of them are working on like exclusives. It makes sense to bring them in house. And I think the final piece of the puzzle is Sega, because it really does get you a foothold in Japan. Capcom's off the table, folks. I love them, but they're making too much money. They're one of the most profitable Japanese developer and publisher in that region of the world. Capcom does not need to be sold off. They're making money hand over fist. Sega is the one that I think would really get, and I get this. I take this exact quote from Everborn Saga. It really does get Microsoft in that room of conversation of, hey, put stuff on Xbox. Sega is that important to Japan, and I think Sega is an important piece. But we'll talk about that in a future episode, I'm sure, at some point or another. I just want to read we got another super chat. I want to get a member chat that popped in here from a very good friend, very good brother, if you will, Tempest Son, who's been a channel member, folks, for 45 months. He obviously used to join us or before, work got in the way on Primetime Gaming each and every Wednesday. He helped me launch that show many, many years ago. Shout out to you, Tempest Son, you and the fam. He says, what makes me wonder what actually goes down at these publications? Are these unspoken bias rules, or is it quite spoken out loud as to be as biased as they are? They are having pro Sony meetings. I mean, it's certainly possible. There's no doubt about it. The bias is there, folks. You just have to look. If you want to close your eyes and be blinded by the shenanigans, good on you. I don't fall for the nonsense. We also have another super chat that have come in, so let me get to that. And that comes the way of Torino Johnson. Torino, brother, happy Friday. Thank you so much for the generosity and, of course, being here as always. He says this, folks. I bought Prototype 1 and 2 for $15 each on the Xbox store. Thanks for the suggestion, Boom. Oh, dude, that's awesome. I mean, Prototype is one of my most requested. You got to come back in a big way. That's Xbox's superhero. Like, if you haven't played it, go buy it for $15. Now, again, it's eventually going to be dropped onto Game Pass once the deal is done, so maybe you hold out. But that and Singularity, chef's freaking kiss of what two IPs I want to see come back. But, folks, thank you again for making this another successful Breakfast with Boom. We had over 525 people tune in for a Friday morning show. Hopefully, you're staying cool here in New York. What is it right now? It is nearly 100 degrees here, which sucks because I hate the heat. But hopefully you're staying cool wherever you are. A big shout out to all of the continued support through Super Chats and, of course, channel memberships. We're going to get to the outros. Dave, we're going to start first with you, brother. Not only do you have a show this Sunday, but I'm sure you have another interview lined up that you could be dropping on Monday. Sell your brand, kind sir. Talk about the best place for one-on-one interviews, and also where you can spend your Sunday evenings, which I'll be hanging out with you and Retri next Sunday, August 6th. Talk about it.
Thank you, Boom. Appreciate it. Actually, as of this point, I do not have an episode coming up on Monday for Gamers Council, and that's
it is the summer, so it's a little harder.
And yeah. But I've got a few lined up, and we'll just have to kind of see what falls into place. But that's okay. I will do my best to get something up before Monday falls. You never know when somebody becomes available. But yeah. So Sunday. I'm privileged to be one of the guests on the Iron Lords podcast. I'm looking forward to that big marathon. I know I was surprised they asked me, but I'm really glad they did, and it's going to be fun mixing it up with those gentlemen. And then of course Sunday night it's going to be Gamers Council at Sunday night, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have got Fuzzy Belvedere. Love you, Fuzzy. He's agreed to come on. It's going to be fantastic. And Hargeet Johnny. So it's going to be a really good episode. And we have got a lot to talk about. Some fanboys are upset. We're going to get into why.
Oh, I love it. I love it. As the kids like to say, I don't want to stoke the fires of fanboy shenanigans. I don't like it.
Yep.
All I know is that if you have tears, get an Xbox. I'm telling you, folks, it's going to be well worth your money. But I'm looking forward to that, Dave.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. So listen, let's continue. And obviously, if you do find someone you're going to interview, maybe it's only Friday. You still got a couple of days. Drop it into the DM. I'll help promote your Monday show as I always do.
You always do.
Crispy Bomb, brother, sell your brand. Talk about the best place to find you on social media to strike up a conversation. I see you stoking the fires of Gears of War 3, which has all its servers back. People are playing it. People are enjoying it. Apparently, people like old games.
Oh, isn't that interesting, Boom? And there, I've had a few people be like, it's not dedicated. It's not working dedicated. You might have to uninstall and reinstall the game.
Okay.
So once you do, you will see. Now, if you haven't played Gears of War 3, the shutter when you're roadie running, you might have a problem with, because it's not as prevalent in the newest installments. So you have to get through that. Other than that,
it is an old game.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's why I still want the Phoenix collection, but that's besides the point. But it's at Crispy Bomb on Twitter, Crispy Bomb 20 Xbox Live. Now, normally I would be on Breakfast with Boom Friday. Unfortunately, I do have to work, but I'm kind of just throwing it out there because I got in late in the green room. But I am available Monday, Boom.
Oh,
so
okay.
maybe Xbox
join us, brother.
Special. And
just join us.
There you go. I will be there, and be a gamer, man. Like, plastic box, I don't care about that. Let's go to the arcade, have some fun. Like, come on, man. Let's do it. Yeah. See you then.
Awesome. We'll see you Monday then. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to that. You'll be hanging out with me and Dave and Fuzzy and Crazy Lou Gaming. So looking forward to that. And Fuzzy Belvedere, brother, let's sell your brand. The best place for anything and everything racing. And of course, you're going to be up to your eyebrows in racing talk when Forza releases this October. Sell your brand. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, and more importantly, subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Oh, just want to thank you for having me on, as well as thanks to everyone in the chat for interacting with us and checking out our broadcast. Greatly appreciate all the views. Don't forget to hit the like button while you're here, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. For those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, you can find me on pretty much all social media, Twitter / formerly Twitter, now known as X, or even Threads at Fuzzy_Belvedere, or just Fuzzy Belvedere, all one word, like on YouTube. You can also find me later on tonight, Xbox Ultimate Podcast at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fun Speculations channel at once again 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow on the Shop Podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on PTK Blam's channel. Gamers Council at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Web Dave's channel. And that's on Sunday night. And then right back here for the Xbox Lunch Break Special at 12 noon on Monday at 12 noon, right on Double Barrel Gaming. Look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Again, I don't know what the show is going to be talking about. I have some stories that we're going to get into, but Monday's show should be amazing. Big thank you to everyone once again with the super chats. We truly appreciate them here at Double Barrel Gaming. Thank you for the continued support through, of course, channel memberships. And just want to say a big thank you to the 500 plus people that tuned in for today's show, because we don't have a show without you, and we certainly don't have a show without this amazing panel that we have here. Dreadpool's in the chat. He wish he could have been here, but he's doing a Comic-Con. I believe it was at Tampa. I think he's in Tampa doing a Comic-Con there. We'll get him back soon enough, folks. And when he's back, he'll be dropping his love for the Sega talk, because we're gonna still talk that Sega talk until it's the deal. We will that deal into fruition. But of course, I want to say, everyone, please have an amazing weekend. Oh, by the way, check out Double Dragon. The new one just dropped. I've been playing it for about 3 hours. It is amazing. If you are a fan, if you're an old school prick like me, you'll appreciate it. It's on sale. It's 10% off. I think it's on Xbox Live for like 20, or the Xbox Store. No live anymore. For like 22 and change. It's great. It's phenomenal. I'm really enjoying it. I'm not a big fan of the character design. Their heads are a little big. I don't know why they decided to make like these humongous heads, but check it out. I'm enjoying it. If you're an old school Double Dragon fan, I think you're going to dig it. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you folks. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.